Good morning and good evening. And I'm going to say that because I'm speaking to an amazing good friend of mine who's also a great therapist. He's a trainer, and that's Sam Neffendorf. And he's
Hello there.
speaking Monday morning in gorgeous Ojiva in Spain.
Yep.
And I'm and I'm saying good evening because I'm speaking to you from Australia in Canberra, and it's a very lovely, warmy, balmy evening. So Sam and I, we've been very lucky to know each other for quite a few years, and we've got a wonderful thing in combined, basically, where we both had a really amazing journey in fertility. And we were chatting, and we thought the best thing is to make a really good talk between the two of us, like a conversation, because we really are passionate about helping other people because of our journeys. And because of our journeys, we've had so many other great things and learnings, knowings, and different things to our toolbox as therapists. So we're going to do this in three different sort of steps, really. First of all, it's about us sharing our stories in a conversation. Then it's sort of what we did, and then we're going to finish what we're doing now and how we can support others, so that you can understand what it is, because we both do something different, and we're both very passionate, and there might be different things for different clients, because we want to know that there's always hope, there's always a solution. And we sit here as people that were told, both of us, that there's no way we could ever get pregnant. So,
well, there's still no way I can get pregnant, but I was able to assist. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I should have been a bit more clear there with clarity. Absolutely. So, Sam, thanks so much for bringing up this idea.
Pleasure.
And it's really good to have this chat and to converse with you as we can. Let's just see how this goes. So, Sam, I think it's really fun to start off with you first. So, tell us, tell us what was going on for you. Tell us about the story, your fertility journey.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, I won't ruin the punchline, but so I was around, I guess I was 36 years old, and my wife and I were hoping to have children, and we had been for a while, and nothing seemed to be happening. And I was, and it got to a stage where, and I think people might be able to resonate with this, where even the trying stopped being fun, because you get so obsessed with the time of the month and is it the right time. So actually all of the spontaneity and the naturalness out of the sex goes as well. So it starts impacting on that part of your life. And and so anyway, I decided to go to the doctor, where I found out, having had some tests, that I had a relatively unusual fertility issue going on that the medical establishment really couldn't do much about. And so that was a bit of a shock for me. It was something to do with it was now funnily enough, what you mentioned just before about anti-sperm antibodies. I was like, oh, is that what I had? I thought it was white blood cells actually attacking my sperm cells, so I think they're very similar in respect of what's actually happening. It meant that although I was producing a low but still acceptable amount of sperm, they were moderate in all the other areas, so reasonably mobile, fairly standard. But these antibodies were attacking them, and as a result of that, I was deemed that I was not going to be able to naturally have children, and the only way would be, even IVF wouldn't do it. We would have had to have a process called ICSI, which is a very invasive version of IVF, really quite tough, even tougher, I think, for the woman to go through. And obviously that, so we explored all of that, and we were starting to go down that path. But yeah, I guess I had to deal with the real shock of this, and it was, you know, being told something like that, that there's nothing that really nothing can be done, or little that can be done. It was quite,
Mm.
you know, the biggest bit I remember is the shock, all the, well, can't believe this has happened to me. These sorts of things don't happen to me. You know, all the things that, all the denial that people experience, and then
Absolutely.
yeah,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
but go ahead, yeah.
No, I was going to say, because I know from my husband, he found it really difficult. He couldn't even talk about it. So I'm really just in awe that you were able to process all of that and then do something about it. So really, really well done you. And this is why we're so passionate about it, isn't it? To help
I have
others.
to say, I found it very hard to talk about for quite a long time with
Right.
anyone but
Yeah.
the very closest people.
Yeah.
Now, you know, now that the journey has happened and had a good outcome,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to share. But I think, like many men, it's a real knock to who you are at the time,
Yeah.
and I think this is unfortunately a problem that a lot of guys have in many areas of life, that they just don't like talking about these sort of self defeats and these vulnerabilities that they feel that they've had. It's something we're
Absolutely.
brought up not to actually not to actually talk about in the whole of society. You know, whatever your family upbringing was like, there's still this stiff upper lip sort of,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
man up, suck it up, sort of attitude, that you have to be tough through your problems, which means that
Absolutely.
men don't
And
get help.
absolutely. And of course, it's all about don't feel. Get
Yeah,
on with
don't
it. Don't
yeah,
feel.
don't feel. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say the next bit, but it is just don't feel. Full stop. Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no room for emotions in business and all that crap. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also any other area of life too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I kept quiet about it, but I did go, and what I had luckily started down a path of looking at alternative, holistic, complementary, whatever you want to call it, practices.
Yeah.
And so it,
Well done,
from
you.
a few days later, I just decided, yeah, let's have a look at this. And I went
Hmm.
and saw some people, and yeah, so that was the start of that journey. It was, I mean, it was kind of, I guess, probably the first dark night of the soul experience that I'd had for a long
Yeah.
time, since my earlier, so like teens and 20s. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. It's
that
huge.
was where I was basically.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how
Hmm.
about you?
Yeah. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much, Sam. Yeah. So for me, again, it's similar age,
Yeah.
35. I married my husband. As I was already, I suppose, what's deemed as an older parent before I
Yes.
started, and that idea of you get married and then you start trying for kids and everything will be all right. So like you, it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It just did not happen. And then going to find out what was going wrong. And then that whole thing of, what's wrong with us because
Mm.
it's not happening. And so, like you, we had all of our tests and I was okay, but my husband had anti-sperm antibodies and again, it knocked him for six. And it was difficult because I knew if it was me, I could fix it, but it wasn't. And so we were also told we had to do ICSI.
Right.
So
Yeah.
exactly like you said, making sure you do everything on time and everything's about watching the clock and all of these things. And it how we're supposed to make a child, it does, and the loving part and all of that, it just goes right out the window. And then the more that you have to, the more it's a turn off, and it's the stress and the pain and the anguish. And I think we turn a lot inside, don't we? We start turning inside and having it ourselves. I think my husband must have done that in his way, and I know I did that in a lots of ways, of not being good enough, not and can't doing what most women do. All of this emotional turmoil, and I think the mental health is not really even spoken about or even realized. I think within fertility for both male and females, because male fertility is now rising quite a lot.
Yeah.
So for myself, I ended up, over my 10-year journey, having six ICSI cycles.
Yes.
And on an emotional level, I would say that took a massive toll. Financially as well, that didn't necessarily help, but it was huge. And I think, you know, for me and my husband, it sort of sent us like that. And it's massive. It's absolutely massive. And I think in the end, for me, I, as a therapist, I then wanted to become more curious. If even after all of these times, if even after all of this, what else is there? And like you, this is where we start going, okay, so there's got to be more. I've got to understand, instead of like, oh, so sorry, it's just not worked. You have to go for another cycle. Sorry, it's not worked. You just have to go for another cycle. It's just like, no, there's got to be more to it than this. So that thirst of trying to find the key then sent me deeper into, you know, looking at all different modalities and trying to become the best version of myself. You know, what was that? So like you know, as you say, that dark night of the soul can sometimes be the very, you know, guiding star that allows you to be more curious, to look deeper, to find out, well, what else is there?
Absolutely.
But on a deeper emotional level.
Yeah. Now your journey was a long journey.
It
10
was.
years. Yes. I guess I could say, but yeah, I was fortunate in that mine actually was fairly quickly resolved, because so after this, I started down a route where I went and saw an acupuncturist.
Brilliant.
And she was very good, and she actually suggested that I had a session with her, and she said, why don't you go and see this guy who also does herbal medicine? I think it's going to be really useful for you. So I went and saw an excellent practitioner called Henry McGrath in Clifton in Bristol. And yeah, absolutely exceptional acupuncturist and herbal medicine guy. And
so was that traditional Chinese medicine?
yes, traditional Chinese herbs he was using. And
brilliant.
I mean, super experienced practitioner. And he actually, I was also doing various energy techniques at this time, and so I was doing things working on beliefs and stuff. I didn't have the same understanding that I've got now, which I'll come to later. But I was throwing everything at this, and I did a 3-month cycle of treatment with Henry, and then I went and I got retested again, and I was deeply dismayed to see that the original problem was still there. So so still 66% issue, like with the white blood cell attacking, or the anti-sperm antibodies attacking, and which meant that previously there wasn't enough happening for anything to occur. However, what had happened was that my levels, so the sperm count had gone through the roof, the mobility had improved, the quality of the sperm was all right up. And although I was upset because it seemed like this had all not worked, actually they said, well, no, actually you would now be considered to not be infertile anymore.
Oh, wow.
And then 1 month later, I found out, my wife got pregnant. So
wow.
So it was a fairly, so it was about a 6-month process altogether, from the bombshell through to, actually something happening. So that was
Brilliant.
really amazing, and it led me on this path of, I was going to train as an acupuncturist, and then I discovered something called EFT, also known as tapping, which is like a psychological form of acupuncture, and it really resonated with me, to be able to tap, and as well as doing what the acupuncture can do, to be able to actually use the sort of talking and tuning into emotions and helping people to at the psychological as well as the physiological and energetic level. So that really started me on my journey to resolve the root cause, because although I'd had this, I guess to a degree, the symptoms had
Yeah.
improved. What I hadn't done at that stage was actually resolve and understand the real reason why
Mm.
this has happened in the first place, which was to do with
Yeah.
why was my body intelligently carrying out these processes. That one thing you said just a few minutes ago was quite interesting about the psychology not being looked at all.
Yeah.
The Newtonian sort of medical paradigm just sees symptoms in isolation, and they're not
Yeah.
looking at they don't look at what can be sort of how the brain and the energy and the nervous system all interact with all of the other um, body tissues, so that you know things like traumas in your past or themes of things going on in your life can actually have effects on your physical body as it tries its best to evolve to whatever circumstances you're in, and this can
Yeah.
have unintended consequences which can they can appear to be illnesses to the
Yeah.
mainstream medical model, whereas in fact, in my case, if I just say that the underlying
Hmm.
reasons that I was not, but I had this perceived fertility problem at the
Yeah.
time would have been around,
Yeah.
but actually to do with that I was deeply unhappy and
Yeah.
lacking purpose in my work life. And although I was
Hmm.
a director of a company, it
Yeah.
was a miserable experience for me. I didn't resonate with what I was doing at all. Felt totally disillusioned with it, and so I was of course self-medicating a lot with all the things that we use to keep us numb to the pain of existence. So none of this helped, and
Yeah.
so once I was able to actually start exploring those sorts of things, then it's interesting where the journey led. And
Yeah.
I actually, as my son was born, and shortly afterwards, within a
Yeah.
year, I was able to leave that position and actually find myself in doing some work that I felt much more in tune with, much more aligned
Yeah.
with, to the point
Yeah.
that now we've created this life where we're living in beautiful places and working online with people all over the world to help them with various things, whatever's going on in their life. So it was really the catalyst of an awesome journey for me. Having children, of course, fantastic, and so
Yeah.
much more as well. It opened up a huge amount in life.
It did, yeah, and it's amazing. I like because I know some of the things you do, and I've also worked with you as well, working with EFT tapping and how that can shift the body. And I loved what we were chatting before that we were recording, and as you said, with tapping, it completed the journey for you,
Yeah.
which allowed you to get out of a job you hated and also into a job now that is so fulfilling and that you love. So like you say, it resolved that root cause, which I just think is phenomenal.
And
And
also
then the
led
fact
to another child as well. We've now got a 2-year-old daughter as well, which is
you do,
yeah.
and because I know with Star, in between your first child and also having your lovely second child here, that your poor lovely wife, she went through a few miscarriages, and as we know, miscarriages are just they
Yeah.
create again so much pain. And I know that you both worked really hard on that, with looking at acceptance and all the different modalities that you had with that. And Star, well, she's just I love her to bits, she's just gorgeous. There's a lot of work that you both did with that, with
Yeah.
your
Yeah, we've
tapping.
found that you can do that, but like there's some areas that obviously because we're super close, I can't work with her on all aspects of life, but this was something that was very, we'd been through it together and it felt very right and
Yeah.
natural to be able to work on that together. And
Yeah.
so we were able to yeah, just it's not a case of acceptance. Doesn't mean everything's hunky dory and great about this, but it's
No,
actually
no.
accepting, like, rather than trying to push away what's happened. It's really owning, and not, it's not a case of actually being responsible for it, but it's a case of accepting that this is the situation, and from there you can truly heal
Create
and
peace.
create peace. Tapping's great for that, of
Mm,
course.
mm,
And so that was really valuable.
mm.
I think we should talk about your journey, which was of course massive, but I just want to mention quickly that
Yeah.
one of the things, we've got a daughter now, and at 36 and a half weeks,
Oh, yeah, this is
um,
great.
yeah, we found that she was breech, and we were looking forward to a
Yeah.
home birth, and we
Hmm.
had, like, a lovely private midwife out here who was going to help us with that. But yeah, 36 and a half weeks breech is right. Okay, look, very likely we were going to have a hospital birth after all.
Mm.
And anyway, so we did, she did some yoga moves, which obviously helped with the inversion, but that's a very big baby to be turning at that time. And
Cheers,
so
yeah.
we also used a tapping process called matrix
Hmm.
reimprinting, and
Hmm.
some
Love it.
modalities around that to do with birth, which
Hmm.
is called matrix birth reimprinting, where I was actually able to, with tapping and visualization, help Star to can really connect with the baby and have an energetic conversation with it, which actually did come through in words and images between them. She did it all.
Wow.
I was just there guiding her.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the outcome of it was that so the story is the baby felt that it was, she was wanted to be as close as possible to mum, because of course there was some residual fear left over from the two miscarriages and everything, and
yeah, yeah,
worries, and so this was very precious, and the energy was that she was keeping her head as close to mum. And so through the conversation that they had, she was able to let go
yeah.
of that, and
Oh,
whatever,
wow.
however this stuff works. uh when we went and got checked out at the hospital, had a scan, um she'd
She's
turned.
going.
Yeah, so we
Brilliant.
were able to have the amazing home birth after all, which was
Yeah,
just a beautiful
fantastic.
experience. And yeah, that in
Absolutely.
itself very, as well as, Star did just did amazingly, but it was all done in a few hours, like, while my son was
Hmm.
at school. He came back
Wow.
and had a sister. It was great.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was also very, the process that she'd been able to be so powerful in that,
Yeah,
and have this amazing
absolutely.
birth, was really, it helped her to heal stuff from the previous birth, and also,
Yeah.
from those previous two as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was an all
Hmm.
round great experience. All natural things happening, of course, but with the
Hmm.
assistance of these brilliant techniques that can really help.
Absolutely. Great tools. And then to be able to heal those past, like say, trauma, pain, and to create that whilst being able to give birth to to the child now, it's just so powerful. And what it does is it gives, I suppose, us back the power to create that healing,
Yeah.
and then such a beautiful birth, which is, it's phenomenal. Brilliant. I love birth matrix reimprinting, and because of you, I've learned it, and that it's just so powerful. I've worked with quite a few clients with all sorts of issues when it comes to either abortions, any trauma with birth, and whether it's birth for children or their own birth, and that book From Birth Matrix Reimprinting by Sharon King,
Yeah.
Heal Your Birth, Heal Your Life, and it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's really, I highly recommend it. Well, the great thing about it is it's not just about giving birth, the birth imprinting. It can also be used to resolve your own birth traumas from when you were born, and those can have
Absolutely.
effects that echo throughout our entire life, which it can be.
Yeah.
So people have been on this the therapy merry-go-round of thinking like they're always doing more and more therapy, that they're not getting to something. then actually looking deeper at that birth and pre-birth in the womb stuff can be where entire life patterns were laid down, and healing it can be really resourceful to change as a foundation for pretty much everything.
For life. It blows my mind when I do that, and the more I learn about it.
Awesome.
So brilliant, Sam. Thanks. That is just unbelievable. And then I know for me, you know, everything that we did. So I know for myself, you know, as I was saying about that curiosity of, okay, well, what else is going on? You know, I know our bodies are born knowing what to do. So why, like you said, why is it coming up with the knot? What is going on? So for me, I sort of went in and did a lot of healing of my past. You know, I had a past, lots of depression, but it all again stemmed from sexual abuse from a family member. And, you know, that then, because it just compounded, I just pushed it all down, compounded in some really bad behavior. And you know, again, I was numbing down with everything I could, going, well, I'm fine. I don't know what the problem is. And of course, this was in a way turning off my body because it thought it was in trauma. So I was consciously going, well, it's okay. I'm married now. It's time to have, you know, a baby. This is what, you know, society has said. And yet my body was kind of going, no, it's not safe out there. So, and it took me a while to kind of wake up to the fact of, okay, so what else is going on in there? So as life does, I got introduced to something called The Journey. And has some similar sort of echoes to matrix work, you know, both friggin' amazing tools where the root cause for me was getting to the root cause of all of this pain. You know, so for me it was, you know, depression, it was lots of anger issues, it was abuse, and you know, and also addiction. I had a lot of addictions because I was trying to push everything down. But I didn't know that until I started to have to look at this. So I got into NLP, hypnotherapy, loads of workshops, you know, energy medicine, looking at my, you know, healing that deep inner pain, you know, and in a way looking at that younger me it was in a lot of pain. So I went and learned and added all of these things, learning, you know, I became so thirsty that I was willing to leave no stone unturned to heal what needed to be healed. You know, to the point even where, you know, year 8, my sister-in-law got pregnant first time IVF through a donor sperm. You know, I knew I needed to be happy for her, but it would, you know, it completely, you know, sidetracked me and sidelined me. And I was like, I don't want to feel like this. This is not who I am. I don't want to feel angry or pain towards somebody else who just managed to do what I couldn't do. So I knew then another guiding star. It's, you know, Liz, get over it. You know, just, it's time to live your life. So I then spent a good year, again, journey work, workshops, you know, going and, you know, journaling, everything I could do, everything that I'd learned, to be clear. I wanted to be completely clear.
And I think I've just remembered something, because that you had actually totally let go of the idea of being a mum, hadn't you? You were helping other women and being successful in helping them to become mums. But for you, you'd thought maybe perhaps this is my path. I'll focus on my practice. I'm going to go out there and help people. And then what happened? Well, I remember when you told me, and so, you were not looking that healthy at the time. Do you remember that specific day?
Why? Because you know, my language was, I'm really lucky I don't have to have children. I can go out and party, and you know, so I got back into that kind of lifestyle. And yes, I was feeling so ill. It was coming up to Christmas. I was then 45 years old. It was 2014. That's right, the end of 2014, and you know, I assumed menopause, felt really ill, you know, let's go to the doctors and just figure out what I need to do because I feel rubbish. And it was then learning that, you know, the lady sort of giggling, going, it's not menopause. So
Yeah.
yes, that was a little bit of a shock, you know. And I, to be fair, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? No way. Now, you know, is the universe, the gods having a real good giggle at me now.
Yeah.
This is where, you know, I say to a lot of my clients, you know, what if there's just stuff that you need to learn? What if this is the biggest gift to allow you to become the best version of yourself?
Indeed.
Because my learning was, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And when I had learned become the best version of myself, allowed myself to get rid, to heal, you know, to kind of let go of all of that stuff, then it allowed the flow to come to me.
Yeah.
So yes, just phenomenal. So
The
then
power of
that, you know,
surrender. Yeah.
yeah,
And acceptance. Yeah.
yeah, and I have to now thank that 10-year, because I've got, you know, a blueprint for all of those times. You know, I'm literally the oldest person in my peer group with the youngest child. I mean, I have a 4.5-year-old and I'm 50 now, and
Yes.
you know, I have to bless it all. You know, would I choose? No, but is that what happened? Yeah. Do I have to be grateful? 100,000,000%. You know, this was obviously what it meant to be. So, and it's given me this amazing niche. So absolutely.
Indeed. And yeah, and Willow, absolutely wonderful little girl.
Very blessed.
Yeah, so yeah, amazing, really.
So you now have the amazing Zed. You've got a gorgeous little boy called Zed. And how old is he now?
He's 8 and something. Yeah, it's very important to them what
Blimey.
yeah, eight
Is he
and a
8
half or
already?
whatever. Yeah,
My
yeah,
goodness. And then you've got little Mia, is Maya?
Maya, who's
Maya. And
who's
how old is
2.
Maya?
She's 2.
2.
Yeah,
Beautiful. And I haven't met Maya, so maybe one day. So
yeah, definitely.
tell me, Sam, where are you now? So what's going on for you now? So how can, you know, tell us what's happening, what support do you have? And let's see, you know, who are these people that we could throw out some ideas and thoughts, so, you know, that for the people listening, that how we can support them.
Yeah, well, I think, I guess a key part of what I'd like to say is that, especially for men out there who are suffering in silence, where there isn't as much support geared to them, because for the reasons we talked about already, the toughen up buttercup and all that sort of thing, that actually it's really important that you can reach out, and there are ways that you can work very quickly and effectively on issues that you've got going on. And that can be, you know, with fertility, it's, you know, it's super important that you explore this stuff, because normally it's the woman who goes and explores things first. And actually, yeah, I think that, you know, it's great to just clear whatever is going on. And, you know, I build myself as I help people to resolve self-defeating behaviors of any kind. So things like addictions, things like anxiety, depression, but also the physical symptoms of health that can manifest as a result of these things. I love to just support people through that. And I'm talking men here, but of course I do work with women too.
Absolutely.
And it's and couples as well. So if we're talking fertility, I've got a lovely story of a couple who came and stayed with us, and I did work with both of them over a weekend, and we just had nice food and had a good time. And then they didn't have neither of them had a diagnosis. There wasn't anything deemed wrong, but nothing was happening after several years. And then the month after they came for this visit, she was pregnant, basically.
Brilliant.
So so they had that baby, and then they've got a second baby or child now. So this was quite a few years ago. But yeah, I've helped a few people. I have in fertility, I have to say I've mostly worked with women, actually, because they tend to come forward for this sort of work more. And there's been a few occasions where they do, where they've been successful and had children afterwards. So that's been amazing. But yeah, I really would like to just say to guys that you can get in touch. so many men block and repress their emotional stuff. And actually, one of the biggest gifts for me with this work is that I've become more emotional. So, you know, it can be silly. Like sometimes my kids will be watching a cartoon and I'll start some tears welling up in my eyes. I'm like, oh, come on. But yeah, but generally, it's and they opened up to a more rich and colourful life. And I've been able to resolve a lot of things. Recently I've been working on my own drinking, and I noticed that drinking was starting to become a thing, bit of an issue for me, to the point where I thought, okay, I'm going to explore this. And and it was really interesting to see all the patterns. It was quite amazing. And using these techniques to resolve them, to the point that now I can absolutely comfortably say I no longer have any compulsion to drink alcohol, but I can have it and not feel any. So I can have a drink, and I can then not feel like I have to have another one, which in the past would have been the case. So that's been, that it's sort of not the it's all or nothing approach, which most of the organizations such as AA say, that you're a victim forever. When you change the root causes and
you change everything,
you can actually, you no longer have to be attached to the pattern, and you can gain power over your life rather than being the victim of whatever's going on. So
100% agree.
Really, anyone who's fertility, of course, talk about today, love to help with that. But you know, any behaviors, self-defeat, whatever, then you know, I'm really interested in supporting with people with that. And I do it all like you do. I do it on Zoom, basically like this. So you have sessions are done online. So it can be with anyone in the world, which is the beauty of the way that we live these days. We can work with people who resonate with us rather than whoever's around the corner.
Absolutely. You know, we live in an amazing time where we have that choice as well, which is great. Sam, that's just amazing. And I love it. So you do a lot to do with, like you say, people that are stuck in jobs as well, being able to find their passion and be able to go and live their passion. You do a lot with fertility. You can do, like you say, anxiety, depression, all of those parts of us, again, that would stop us, being who we need to be.
It's habits and behaviors. It's habits, behaviors, changing them. You change your life at all levels. And it's, you know, even, and it's great because whether people have this spiritual perception and are down with the whole energy approach, or if they want to look at it practically from how the brain works, we can work with that, whatever. So it still works.
Absolutely.
It works whether you believe in it or not. That's the beauty of it. A lot of people say, oh, it only works if you believe in it. But actually, it really works. And a lot of, you know, I guess like you, we met in networking events in Bristol, didn't we, all those years ago? And, you know, I'm sure you, like me, had lots of people who were like, oh, yeah, I don't really think it's going to work, but I'm curious just to find out, like business people. And then they're like, I remember, like, they're like, oh, I could feel the rain on my face and stuff like that when I was in the memory. And so just how powerful it had been for them. So it works, which is great.
It works so very powerfully. And when we get to that cellular memory, our body remembers everything that goes on.
Absolutely.
And it's the stuff that has held on to us negatively. And with all the different tools, modalities, and also our own journey that we've gone through, there is so much opportunity when we allow the body to heal of what it can do. You know, whether we want to think of it as, you know, sort of more spiritual, or like you say, getting into the more practical part, is it's there in any different form of information that people would like, which is great.
And so how about you? What are you what are you
So
up to
where am
these
I
days?
now? So I now live in Australia. I was in the UK, which is where I met you, and I am actually English. But my husband's Australian, and when my dear old mum passed away, we've come back to Australia. So again, that allows me to open to a whole new network of people, and then I also have to see clients internationally and globally, which is again wonderful. So I now have a beautiful 4.5-year-old, and for me, it's growing my business steadily from here. So I niche in fertility, and I niche in unexplained infertility. So that's usually people that have been trying for 2 years plus. They've ended up spending, 20, 30, 40,000, whether it's pounds or dollars or whatever plus.
Yeah.
And they've tried everything, and yet it's still, well, we've done everything. I don't know why you're still not getting pregnant. So that's where usually people are then open to saying, okay, I know there's something more, that curiosity. And then that's when we start looking at, okay, so what is it? And we start getting curious, and we use all the different modalities. And like you say, it's looking at vows, beliefs, patterns. It's looking at genealogically, what's been going on that's blocking the body from knowing what's really happening, so that you as in the person out there, can dissolve those blocks. And then what we're really trying to fight for we let go, and it can flow to us. And that has been my learning, and that has been what's been going on for a lot of my clients. And when they get that, guess what happens?
Imagine.
all sorts of possibilities.
So just on that, something that really struck me there is, if anyone ends up watching this before they've gone for their IVF or their ICSI or whatever, that's the time to, if you're doing it afterwards, fantastic, and you get that wonderful result, amazing. Why, it's just really ironic, I think, that this stuff is the last thing people go to.
It's sad. Yeah.
It should be, or should is a weird word, isn't it? But it could be the first thing people try, and save themselves a lot of medical discomfort and stress, basically.
Yeah, and emotional heartache. And I think I also say to my clients, it's about making that one IVF as potent as possible, because when we've got the mind going, because there are situations, I have had clients with situations where something has happened within their body and they have to have the IVF, whether the tubes, there's something wrong with the tubes, or things have happened. So let's make that one IVF as potent as possible, or perhaps maybe you might not need that.
There's many wonderful medical techniques, and of course they've saved many lives, and there's lots of amazing procedures they can do. However, they could be actually the thing that people go to afterwards, but because they are the most invasive, the most costly, and everything. Like, I know you might get one round of IVF perhaps on the NHS or something like that, or through your medical insurance, depending on where you are in the world. But they can become a seriously expensive, pure in financial terms, of course, but also emotionally, what it actually costs you can be very difficult. And why not try these opportunities before that, fraction of the cost, and also and you'll be clearing all of the emotional stuff before it happens as well. So
absolutely. And again, this is what I say to my clients, me healing from all of that stuff in the past, so, or the addiction, everything just falls away. Like you were saying before with the drinking, when we get to the root cause, once you understand, it just falls away. So that drink can just be one drink instead of going, well, I want another one. I mean, I used to smoke, I used to do all of these things, and now I just don't need it. There is no need to, because there's nothing to keep down. If that, the numbing, there's nothing to keep down. So it all just fell away the more I healed myself as an individual, so that was it. So I knew I had something I was going to say. So when we heal our past, we then are able to give to the next generation the best versions of ourselves, because we don't need to bring down all of that stuff, all of that pain. We can clear it, and then for the next generation, they're clear.
Yeah, and you become the best father, mother that you can be.
Absolutely.
Which is wonderful.
And that's the gift. There is a gift. There is a gift. I mean, we might not see it at the time, but the gift is you can choose to heal, which means that you heal everything. And then you can create this new little being, and you can become the best parent. And also that little being doesn't have to take in any of the stuff that we unconsciously take on from our role models. And
no,
again,
they'll take in a whole new level of stuff that we create for them.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
But it's but you know, they you know, no one gets out without some stuff happening, of course. But you know, it's all part of life, and that's how people learn. And they you know, and as we evolve, things become more aware and more conscious, and so it's just beautiful.
It is. It is. So I hope that Sam, thanks first of all so much that we've had this little chat, and I hope that everybody out there listening that's given you an idea of both of our different stories, you know, what we did to go through that and how that supported us, and then now how we work with others. And if that's something for you, we've got the beautiful Sam there. There's myself, and both of our passions really are to support others. So that you can be free, because freedom is, what can I say? Freedom is probably one of the best things that we can give as an individual to this new world, you know, of being able to be the best versions of us, because life is full on. And so when we can be that, we can, you know, I love Gandhi's saying is be the change you wish to be. So when we are that change, we can support everybody else in being that too.
Cool. Yeah. Well, no, thanks very much for hosting this chat. It's been great to be here with you, and well, a million miles away, but by the amazing power of technology. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great.
All right.
So we'll just put the details if anyone
you.
wants to contact us. I'll put my details and Liz's details down below, and so hope just if there is anything that people have got going on, just remembering that it's not a closed story. There's opportunities, there's hope.
Always.
And you can create more of what you want in your life.
Absolutely. Really agree. Thank you to all of you out there. Thank you to you, Sam.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Cool. All right. Bye for now.